Hello, students. We begin with chapter 1, that is chemical reactions and equations. Let's consider the following situations in daily life. जैसे आप अपनी डेली लाइफ में कुछ एग्जांपल्स लो. जैसे फर्स्ट एग्जांपल है मिल्क इज लेफ्ट एट रूम टेम्परेचर ड्यूरिंग समर्स. अगर आप एक ग्लास में थोड़ा मिल्क लेके मीन समर सीजन में रूम में लीव इट. Okay, you leave it untouched and you check it after 6-7 hours. What will happen to that? Okay, then second example is suppose you have an iron tawa or pan or nail and it is left exposed to humid atmosphere. Humid atmosphere means जिसमें humidity ज़्यादा होती है. जैसे rainy season में अगर कोई like iron article it's left exposed, what happens to that? Third example is like grapes. If you leave grapes for a few days, they get fermented. Okay. Then how food is cooked. These are some daily life examples. Then food gets digested into our body. पूरा जो digestion process होता है. Then last example we respire, respiration. So we breathe in, breathe out. Okay, we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So these are some situations we are considering in our daily life. So in all the above situations, if we see, the nature and identity of an initial substance has somewhat changed. तो एक इनिशियल सब्सटेंस होता है, उसमें कुछ चेंजेस होते हैं और फिर हमें एक फाइनल सब्सटेंस मिलता है. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम मिल्क का एग्जांपल लें तो इनिशियली द मिल्क विच यू टुक इन द ग्लास, वो मीन्स इट वाज मिल्क इन गुड कंडीशन. बट आफ्टर 7-8 hours जो मिल्क की कंडीशन है, यू कैन नॉट ड्रिंक दैट, इट कैन हार्म यू, राइट? So initial milk and final milk is somewhat different. So some changes have occurred in that material. उसमें कुछ nature और identity में changes आते हैं, right? So like in the previous classes, you might have learned about physical and chemical changes, right? So in this particular chapter, we will concentrate more on the chemical changes. कि chemical changes कैसे होते हैं किसी matter के अंदर, right? So whenever a chemical change occurs, we can say that a chemical reaction has taken place. तो chemical reaction कब होती है? जब किसी material के अंदर एक chemical change आता है, right? इस chapter में हम ये deep में study करेंगे what actually is a chemical change and how it will take place, right? So we will study what is a chemical reaction and how we will come to know whether a chemical reaction has taken place or not. Okay, so we will be studying all this in detail through examples. Like जैसे आप अगर इसमें एक example लो, grapes are getting fermented. तो initially जो grapes होते हैं, fresh grapes होते हैं, they are edible. आप उसे taste करोगे, it will taste good, it will have a sweet taste, right? And when it gets fermented, it will taste very bad. A particular smell can be observed, so that material is changing. So actually in this case, some chemical reaction has taken place. So this way we will see how chemical reactions are taking place and how we represent them, right? Okay, now we will consider three activities. हम तीन experiments देखेंगे जिससे कि हमारा like chemical reactions को लेके clarity increase होगा, right? So let's understand this activity. In this, we clean a magnesium ribbon about 3 to 4 centimeter long by rubbing it with a sandpaper. ठीक है, हम एक sandpaper लेते हैं और उससे 3 to 4 centimeter long magnesium ribbon को लेके rub करते हैं, right? Then hold it with a pair of tongs. उसे tongs की help से we will hold it, fine, and we burn it using a spirit lamp or a burner. And we collect the ash so formed in a watch glass, right? You can see from the figure also how the setup is done, fine. And we burn the magnesium ribbon, keeping it away as far as possible from our eyes so that it does not harm our eyes. And we should wear eyeglasses also so that no toxic effects are felt by us, fine. So like we have to see what we are observing on its burning. So what we observe actually, we observe that the magnesium ribbon burns with a dazzling white flame and it changes into a white powder. आपको एक पाउडर मिलता है which is white in color, and this powder is nothing but it is magnesium oxide, right? So what happens जब आप magnesium ribbon को burn करते हो तो there is some oxygen in the atmosphere. So वो oxygen और magnesium react करते हैं, a chemical reaction takes place, और जो magnesium ribbon था वो actually convert हो जाता है magnesium oxide में. So basically we see there is a change in the properties of the material, right, due to this reaction. So this is actually a chemical reaction. So this particular experiment can be done in the laboratory also, right? So let's see activity 1.2. In the second activity, we take lead nitrate solution in a test tube. आपको एक टेस्ट ट्यूब में lead nitrate solution prepare करना है, ठीक है? And add potassium iodide solution to this. इसमें potassium iodide solution add होगा. And then you have to observe what happens. Okay? So through observation, you will find that when you have added these materials together, so you will see a bright yellow precipitate is formed. What is a precipitate? Means something which settles down at the bottom of the test tube, right? And its color is bright yellow. So this yellow precipitate which is formed, it is a like chemical. Its name is lead iodide. Okay, so lead nitrate and potassium iodide, these will react to give you lead iodide. Fine. As we will study in the further lectures, this is actually a double displacement reaction. When we study the types of reaction, this reaction we will come across later, right? But right now you can understand that initially lead nitrate was there, potassium iodide was there, and now you get a new substance that is lead iodide. So this is actually an example of a chemical reaction. Now let's see the third activity. In the third activity, we take a few zinc granules in a conical flask or a test tube. Okay, zinc granules are basically small pieces of zinc, and we add dilute hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid to this. So you can see the setup in the figure. So we have taken a conical flask, in that we have added dilute sulfuric acid and zinc granules, right? And we have a glass tube here, and we have closed this with a cork, right? So what will happen? Now we have to observe what happens when we add this. So these observations we have to note down. We observe the formation of hydrogen gas by the action of dilute sulfuric acid on zinc. Okay, so how these hydrogen gas bubbles are observed, you will see bubbles, okay, bubbling or fizzing is seen around the zinc granules. So hydrogen gas is produced when zinc and the acid will react. Okay, we will understand the equations involved later on. And if you touch the conical flask from outside, it will appear to be warmer, right? So this is basically increasing the temperature, and this is referred to as an exothermic reaction. So what happens in an exothermic reaction? Basically, it releases heat. The temperature will rise here, right? And there is another kind of reaction that is called endothermic reaction. In that, the temperature basically reduces, right? So basically two changes you observe. One is the change in temperature, which is rising in this case, and another is the observation of hydrogen gas bubbles. So this is a very famous reaction, and we see that zinc granules and sulfuric acid, they have changed. The matter gets changed and it converts into hydrogen gas. So this is also a good example of a chemical reaction. Now let's see like what we observe in general from the above three activities, right? So if we want to identify whether in some like chemical reaction has taken place or not, what we can observe? We can observe four things. Like there is a change in state. What is state? You know there are three states of matter, like solid, liquid, gas, right? So we can see if there is a change in state, okay? Second thing is whether there is a change in color, as we observed in one of the examples where we got a bright yellow product, right? Third is the evolution of a gas. like we saw the evolution of hydrogen gas in the third activity. And last one is the change in temperature. Like in the last one, we saw like there was a rise in temperature. So all these four properties we can see. If these observations we can see for a reaction, then we can check whether it is a chemical reaction or not. Okay. So there are variety of chemical reactions taking place around us. Okay. So we will see the various types of chemical reactions and how we represent them symbolically in this chapter. So we will discuss various types of reactions and their representations. So now is the question time. I have two conceptual questions for you, right? So in one experiment, we saw like we were rubbing the magnesium ribbon to clean it initially before burning. So why this was done? This is the first question. And second one is an MCQ, which will help you identify which of the given changes is not a physical change. Okay. So you can post these answers in the comment section. I will later post correct answers. Thank you so much for being a part of this series. And in the next lecture, we will be coming up with the section 1.1, which will comprise of chemical equations. Thank you so much. And remember to post the answers to the questions I gave you. Be involved to learn more. Thank you so much.